Welcome to No Brainer MMA. I'm going to be going over UFC Vegas 66 main card, and we're going to get right into it. I'm going to start with Cody Brundage versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. I think Mikhail Oleksiejczuk has really found his place at middleweight. He had no place at light heavyweight, and now that he's not undersized, I think it's going to help him a lot with his takedown defense, which seemed to be the weakest part of his game. He had a 50% takedown defense, and 2 out of his 3 UFC losses have come by submission. Oleksiejczuk is a super technical boxer, straight punches, very heavy hands, and has like an effortless flow when he's striking. Oleksiejczuk keeps his hands very low, which allows him to really soften up his opponent's body, and it makes his opponent drop their arms, and he goes looking for the head, and that's the reason why he gets so many knockouts. He's taken on Cody Brundage, who is on a 2-fight winning streak with finishes over Dolce Lungiambula and Treson Gore. Brundage also started the UFC as a light heavyweight before making his move down to middleweight, which I think is a much better fit for him too. He's definitely the more well-rounded guy, jack of all trades, master of none. He said he wanted to come into that Treson Gore fight wanting to change the narrative that he's only a wrestler and a one-trick pony. He showed that he does possess the ability to finish the fight on the feet if he can. He's not going to want to play that game with Oleksiejczuk, though, in my opinion, because Oleksiejczuk's striking is streets ahead of Brundage's. Brundage's path to victory here is to grapple with Mikhail, which we've seen others do and be very effective. But that being said, I think Oleksiejczuk is just the much better overall guy. So I'm going to go with Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. All right, we're going to get right into the next one, which is Drew Dober versus Bobby Green. Green coming back from a 6-month suspension after having elevated dihydropandestrone in his system, which is a natural occurring in the body, but it was like really elevated. So he said it was from a tainted supplement, but I don't know if that ever came to fruition. Like they're testing on whatever he said it was. So Bobby is juiced to the gills, ready to go. But in all seriousness, I love Bobby Green. I think Bobby has suffered the most of any fighter at the hands of terrible judging. Like we saw last week where Patty Pimlet clearly lost that fight. He's been on that end countless times. And prior to his last loss to Islam Makhachev, he was 5-4 with all 4 of those losses debatably bullshit, in my own opinion. Drakkar Close, Francisco Trinaldo, Thiago Moises might have been the worst. That was just obviously Bobby Green and Rafael Fiziev, which if you watch that fight over again and you don't think Bobby Green won, I don't know. I really just don't know what to tell you. Bobby was able to outstrike Fiziev in all 3 rounds, and Bobby was literally wearing no damage at the end of that fight, so beats me. But Bobby is a very technical striker with a boxing style. He's got a plus 2.2 striking differential at 52% accuracy. He's going to be taking on a very dangerous striker with some of the heaviest hands in the lightweight division and only needs 1 punch to end a fight, with all 5 of his last wins coming by the ways of knockout, and has become one of the most exciting fighters at the 155-pound division, with 4 out of his last 6 fights having a performance of the night or fight of the night award. That being said, he has struggled with his takedown defense throughout his entire career. He sits at a 54% takedown defense, although he is pretty good at getting back to the feet once he is taken down. I see this fight going either one of 2 ways. Either Dover is able to catch Bobby, or Bobby takes Drew to a decision. And out of Bobby Green's 24 UFC fights and a couple of Strikeforce fights in there, he has only been knocked out 2 times. One was a TKO to Islam Makhachev in his last time out, but he actually got put to sleep against Dustin Poirier back in the day. So really only 1 KO. I think this fight will be comparable to the Fiziev fight, but I think Bobby Green won't be unlucky with the judges this time. So I'm going to go with Bobby Green in that one. All right, we're going to move right into the next one, which is Alex Caceres versus Julian Erosa. Bruce Leroy has seriously resurrected his career. Both of these guys actually have. He had a 4-6 run from 2014 to 2018, and it looked like the writing was on the wall for his career with the UFC. But then he's gone 5-2 since, including a 5-fight winning streak before losing his last time out against a very tough, and at the time of the fight was ranked number 10 in the featherweight division, and that was Sadiq Youssef. Super close fight. And Caceres really showed up in a big way and made the fight very competitive, which I think a lot of people didn't expect. I was very surprised that 2 judges had it 27-30. Caceres clearly won the first round, and the 3rd round was up for debate. Caceres will be taking his 27th walk to the octagon, doubling the amount of UFC experience of his opponent, Julian Erosa. Caceres is a gamer. His striking is not powerful at all. He, but he is always throwing something. His volume's very good. Whether it be calf kick or a jab, it's easy for the strikes to start adding up when you're fighting him. But really, I think he's most dangerous when he's running submissions off his back. He's going to be taking on Julian Erosa, who's also had a career resurgence after starting the UFC 2-4. He's since gone 5-1 and has been an underdog in 5 out of those 6 fights and has landed over 100 strikes in 4 of those fights. He fights with that stand and bang mentality. He takes a lot of damage. He takes a shot to land a shot, literally to the point where he averages 6.26 strikes per minute and absorbs 6.3 strikes per minute. And that way of fighting has resulted in getting knocked down in half out of his last 6 fights. Overall, though, I think Caceres has the much better fight IQ. I think he's far less chinny. He takes a lot less damage. And the fact that he had such a competitive fight against Yusuf Zalal in his last time out really sold me on this one. So I'm going to go with Bruce Leroy Alex Caceres in that fight. And we're going to move right into the next one, which is Amir Albazi versus Alessandro Costa. All right, so third time's a charm with this fight. Amir Albazi was supposed to take on Alex Perez, but Alex Perez withdrew. Then he was supposed to face Brandon Royval, but Brandon Royval suffered a broken wrist in training camp a couple of weeks ago. And now he's taking on UFC newcomer Alessandro Costa, who's making his UFC debut on about a 3-week notice. He had a very back and forth fight on the Contender Series, Costa, back in July of this year, and was lucky enough to have it go his way. But unfortunately for Costa, his contract was not picked up. The 26-year-old Brazilian Costa has a 12-2 pro record, finishing 9 out of those fights, 6 by sub, 3 by KO, TKO, and is currently riding a 7-fight winning streak. Costa is very methodical with his approach and really takes his time picking his shots. But that does leave him being a little bit of a slow starter at times, although grappling is his strong suit. He does have a powerful overhand right, and we saw that on the Contender Series fight when he dropped Juan Andres Luna in the second round. He's taken on Amir Albazi, who I really feel for because the guy is only 3 fights in the UFC and has a total of 6 scrap bouts during that time. But during the 3 fights that we've seen from him in the UFC, he's looked nothing less than stellar, besides a slow start in the first round of the fight against Zalgit Samugilov. But besides that, just had 2 dominant first round submission finishes. Albazi is a suffocating grappler with heavy top pressure and a submission wizard. And I think this is a very, very tough ask for Costa. So I'm going to have to go with Amir Albazi in that one. All right, we're going to move right into the co-main event, which is Arman Tsarukyan versus Damir Ismagulov. Arman Tsarukyan had his 5-fight winning streak broken in his last time out. He's 6-2 in the UFC, with his 2 losses coming from Mateusz Gamrot and current lightweight champion Islam Makhachev, and probably was Makhachev's closest fight to date. He's coming off a very close fight with Mateusz Gamrot as well, which really could have gone either way. And it was a fight of the night performance. Tsarukyan, I think, has a very similar fight style to Ilia Topuria, who we saw last week dominate Bryce Mitchell. Like Topuria, Tsarukyan is a short, stocky, heavy hitter with a great wrestling base. Tsarukyan has amassed a plus 1.9 striking differential and 2.7 takedowns per fight at 33% accuracy. He's taken on Damir Ismagulov, who has a perfect 5-0 record in the UFC, all by decision. Although I did think the judges got it wrong last time out against Guram Kutaladze, with Kutaladze winning rounds 1 and 3, in my opinion. Ismagulov has a very awkward fight style that's hard to figure out. He's fast-paced and super athletic, constantly peppering in flashy moves whenever he can, and is always entertaining no matter who he goes against. His striking is explosive, especially with his knees and spinning kicks, which seem to come out of nowhere. He's very well-rounded and good at changing it up and grappling if he has to. But I do like Tsarukyan in this fight. His wrestling is just so good. He's going to want to slow Ismagulov down as early as possible, maybe attack the legs or wear in his gas tank with some grappling to take away that explosiveness that Ismagulov has. But I think it's a pretty good matchup for him. So I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan, and we're going to move right into the main event, which is Jared Cannonier versus Sean Strickland. Love him or hate him, Sean Strickland is just pure entertainment in and out of the cage. I think he's a douche half the time, or more than half the time, but sometimes he does make me laugh. And he always puts on a show inside the cage, so you got to respect him for that. This fight was supposed to take place back in October, but Strickland had a finger injury that got infected, was forced to pull out of the fight. Since returning from a 2-year hiatus caused by a motorcycle accident, he's gone on a 5-1 run, only losing his last time out to current champ Alex Pereira, but has a very fan-friendly fight style. He does go out there, marches down his opponent with a barrage of strikes. He fights very fast-paced, always pushing the pace, very high volume, has a plus 1.5 striking differential, and an 85% takedown defense. And is just downright tough as nails, probably too tough for his own good. And it's no problem taking damage as long as he gets to land a couple of shots of his own. But that's the problem with his fight style. His not the best fight IQ. His striking defense is almost non-existent. He stands there, chin up, hands down, and is just looking to hit you. Doesn't really care about himself, and has resulted in him absorbing over 120 strikes in 2 out of his last 3 fights. I've watched a couple of interviews with him, and he already had his eyes set on a rematch with Alex Pereira. I saw it in every interview with the Schmo from this past week. And I think he might be underestimating or already looking past Cannonier because he's going to have his hands full with Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier, who has looked the best we've probably ever seen him recently. He's 4-2 in his last 6, with his only loss coming from Bobby Knuckles and Israel Adesanya, and really gave Israel Adesanya the toughest fight he's had in a while, obviously before that Alex Pereira fight. But I think Jared Cannonier actually looked better than Pereira in that fight. I know Pereira landed that big shot at the end of the round 5, but he lost all the rounds leading up to that. At least Jared Cannonier was like pretty close throughout the entire fight. Cannonier is the far heavier hitter. He has dynamite in his hands and also tremendous hand speed, some destructive calf kicks, and a mean ground and pound. I know Strickland is going to come out with his normal game plan, stand toe and toe with Jared Cannonier and just strike with him. I don't think it's going to end well for him if he does that, and I don't see this fight really going any other way. So I'm going to have to go with Jared Cannonier in that one. And that's going to be it. UFC Vegas 66. Thanks for watching. No brainer.